In a galaxy far beyond the reach of human telescopes, there existed a species known as the Zinthuri. They were hunters, ruthless, cunning, and unmatched in their ability to adapt. For centuries, they had roamed the stars, conquering planet after planet, leaving behind only silence where life once thrived. Their reputation was legendary. No civilization had ever stood against them for long. To most, the Zinthuri were not just predators. They were death itself. The Zinthuri were unlike anything humans could imagine. Standing at over 8 feet tall, their bodies shimmered with iridescent scales that shifted colors depending on their mood. Razor-sharp claws tipped their hands, and their elongated jaws housed rows of jagged teeth. But it wasn't their physical form that made them so terrifying. It was their intelligence. The Zinthuri didn't rely solely on brute force. They studied their prey meticulously, exploiting weaknesses until resistance became futile. Their latest target was Earth, a small blue-green planet orbiting an ordinary star. At first glance, it seemed insignificant. Its dominant species, called humans, appeared primitive compared to other civilizations the Zinthuri had encountered. These creatures lacked advanced weaponry or unified governments. Instead, they spent their days arguing over borders, resources, and trivial matters. From the Zinthuri perspective, humanity was nothing more than easy prey. Calivor, the leader of the Zinthuri fleet, stood aboard his massive mothership, gazing down at Earth through the observation deck's transparent dome. His piercing yellow eyes reflected the glow of the planet below. "This will be quick," he said to his second-in-command, Varek. "Another conquest to add to our glory." Varek tilted his head, his voice low and cautious. "They seem different, unpredictable." Calivor let out a guttural laugh. "Different. All species are the same when faced with extinction. They beg, they fight, and then they fall. These humans will be no exception." Without delay, Calivor deployed 3 scout ships to assess Earth's defenses. Each vessel carried a team of elite hunters equipped with biotech weapons, capable of adapting to any environment. Their mission was simple: capture samples of the local population and evaluate their usefulness, or lack thereof. The first scout ship descended into Earth's atmosphere, landing near a dense forest. Inside, 5 Zinthuri warriors stepped out, their movements silent and deliberate. They expected fear, chaos, and perhaps even surrender when the humans discovered them. What they didn't expect was a group of teenagers camping nearby. These teens, 4 boys and 1 girl, had come to the woods for a weekend getaway. When they spotted the towering aliens emerging from the trees, panic set in briefly. But instead of running, they acted. One boy grabbed a flashlight and shone it directly into the lead Zinthuri's sensitive eyes, temporarily blinding him. Another used fishing line to trip 2 others, sending them sprawling onto the ground. The girl, quick-thinking and fearless, hurled a pot of boiling water from their campfire toward the nearest alien, scalding its skin. Confused and disoriented, the Zinthuri struggled to regain control. By the time reinforcements arrived, the teens had vanished into the forest, leaving behind only smoldering campfires and scattered gear. News of the encounter spread rapidly among the Zinthuri ranks. For the first time in their history, they had underestimated their prey. Back on the mothership, Calivor listened to the report with growing unease. Something about these humans unsettled him. They weren't supposed to fight back. Not like this. As he stared once again at the glowing orb of Earth, a flicker of doubt crept into his mind. Perhaps this conquest wouldn't be as straightforward as he'd thought. Little did he know, humanity's greatest weapon wasn't technology or strength. It was their refusal to give up, no matter the odds. And that refusal would soon change everything, for both species. The Zinthuri scout team regrouped in the shadow of their sleek, insect-like ship. Their leader, a grizzled warrior named Terrell, clenched his claws in frustration. Never before had they encountered such resistance from what they assumed were primitive beings. The teenagers had not only escaped, but also inflicted minor injuries on 2 of his hunters. For a species that prided itself on perfection, this failure was unacceptable. Tyrell growled low in his throat as he addressed his team. "Find them," he snarled, his voice dripping with menace. "We cannot return to Calivore empty-handed. Capture at least one human alive for study." Meanwhile, deep within the forest, the group of teens huddled together behind a cluster of boulders. They were frightened but determined. The girl, Mia, clutched her flashlight tightly while trying to steady her breathing. She had always been the planner of the group, and now she knew they couldn't just run forever. "They're hunting us," Mia whispered urgently. "But we have the advantage here. This is our territory, not theirs." One of the boys, Jake, nodded. "Yeah, but how do we fight something like that? They're huge." Mia's eyes darted around, taking in their surroundings. Her gaze landed on the ropes they'd brought for climbing trees. An idea sparked in her mind. "We don't fight them head-on," she said. "We outsmart them." Working quickly, the teens set up traps using whatever they could find. Fishing lines strung between trees, rocks balanced precariously on ledges, and even empty cans filled with pebbles to create noise distractions. It wasn't much, but it was all they had. Back in the forest, the Zintheri moved cautiously, their heightened senses scanning for movement. One of the hunters paused near a tree where a nearly invisible fishing line had been tied. As he stepped forward, the line tightened, yanking a branch downward. A shower of pinnacones rained down on him, startling him enough to make him stumble backward into another trap, a pile of leaves covering a shallow pit. He fell in with a muffled roar, thrashing as he tried to free himself. Tyrell cursed under his breath when he heard the commotion. These humans were proving far more resourceful than anticipated. But instead of retreating, he pressed on, determined to complete his mission. The chase continued until the teens reached a clearing near a river. Exhausted and running out of options, they spotted an old abandoned cabin nearby. Inside, they found dusty tools, including a rusty axe and some metal buckets. Without hesitation, they barricaded the door and prepared for the inevitable confrontation. When the Zintheri finally arrived, they surrounded the cabin, their glowing eyes piercing through the darkness. Tyrell signaled for his team to break in. With a thunderous crash, the door splintered open, and the aliens charged inside. What they didn't expect was a blinding flash of light. Mia had rigged a reflective surface, a piece of aluminum foil wrapped around a flashlight, to bounce the beam directly into the aliens' eyes. Temporarily blinded, the Zintheri stumbled back, giving the teens enough time to slip out through a hidden exit at the rear of the cabin. As they fled deeper into the woods, the teens watched from a safe distance as the disoriented aliens argued among themselves. Eventually, realizing they'd lost their quarry, the Zintheri retreated to their ship, leaving behind scorch marks and trampled vegetation as evidence of their presence. News of the encounter spread across Earth almost instantly. Videos recorded by other campers who had witnessed strange lights and sounds in the forest went viral online. Governments scrambled to understand what had happened, while conspiracy theories about alien invasions flooded social media. But for Mia and her friends, there was no doubt. They had faced something extraordinary. And though they didn't know it yet, their actions had sent shockwaves throughout the galaxy. For the first time, the Zintheri had met a species that refused to be intimidated, a species that fought back with ingenuity and teamwork. On the mothership, Calivore listened intently as Tyrell delivered his report. His expression remained stoic, but inside, unease gnawed at him. If these humans were capable of such cleverness, then perhaps Earth wouldn't fall as easily as he had assumed. For now, the Zintheri would prepare for a full-scale invasion. But somewhere in the vastness of space, humanity had unknowingly planted the seed of doubt in the minds of the deadliest predators in the galaxy. The footage of the teenagers' encounter with the Zintheri went viral overnight. News outlets around the world played clips of the glowing alien creatures and the clever traps set by Mia and her friends. At first, many dismissed it as a hoax or an elaborate prank. But when military satellites detected the scout ships leaving Earth's atmosphere, Even the skeptics had to admit something extraordinary was happening. Governments across the globe convened emergency meetings. Scientists, generals, and politicians gathered in secure bunkers to discuss the threat. For once, humanity wasn't divided by borders or ideologies. The arrival of the Xanthari forced them to unite under a single goal: survival. In one of these secret facilities, a young scientist named Elena Vega stood before a room full of high-ranking officials. Her dark hair was tied back in a loose ponytail, and her eyes burned with determination. Elena had spent years studying advanced neural interfaces, a technology designed to connect human brains directly with machines. Until now, her work had been considered theoretical, too risky for practical use. But she knew it could be humanity's best chance against the Xanthari. "Listen," Elena began, pacing in front of a holographic display of the alien ship. "These creatures are not just physically strong. They're smart. They adapt quickly, and they'll exploit any weakness we show them. Our usual weapons won't cut it." A general leaned forward, his brow furrowed. "So what do you propose?" "Magic." Elena ignored the sarcasm. She tapped a button on her tablet, and the hologram shifted to show a diagram of the neural interface she'd developed. "This is our secret weapon. It's a device that can hack into the Xanthari's biotech systems, the same tech they use to adapt so effectively. If we can disrupt their ability to communicate and coordinate, we level the playing field." The room fell silent as everyone processed her words. Finally, a politician spoke up. "How long will it take to build this thing?" "It's already built," Elena replied, holding up a small, sleek headset. "I've been testing it for months. I just need volunteers willing to try it out." Despite some hesitation, the decision was made. Elena assembled a team of engineers, soldiers, and hackers to refine the neural interface. Among them was Jake, one of the teens from the forest encounter. Though he was only 17, his quick thinking during the attack had caught the attention of military recruiters. Reluctantly, his parents agreed to let him join the effort. As the days passed, Elena worked tirelessly, teaching her team how to use the interface. The device allowed users to tap into electronic networks, manipulate machinery, and even intercept communications. It wasn't perfect. It required intense focus and carried risks of mental strain. But it was humanity's best shot. Meanwhile, ordinary people weren't waiting around for governments to act. Inspired by Mia and her friends, communities worldwide began preparing for the worst. Farmers converted tractors into makeshift tanks, gamers used strategy skills to plan defenses, and inventors repurposed everyday items into tools of resistance. Social media became a hub of shared ideas, with hashtags like #FightBack trending globally. One particularly ingenious idea came from a group of college students in Japan. Using drones equipped with cameras and speakers, they created decoys that mimicked human voices and movements. When tested against simulations of Xanthari behavior, the drones proved remarkably effective at distracting the aliens. Back in Elena's lab, progress accelerated. The neural interface was ready for its first real-world test. Jake volunteered to go first, strapping on the headset while staring at a monitor displaying simulated Xanthari code. As the program activated, his vision blurred momentarily before stabilizing. Suddenly, lines of alien data flooded his mind, and he realized he could understand and alter it. "It works," Jake exclaimed, his voice trembling with excitement. "I can see their systems. I can change them." Elena smiled, though exhaustion lingered in her eyes. "Good, because we're going to need every advantage we can get." Little did they know, their efforts were being watched, not just by humans, but by the Xanthari themselves. Reports of Earth's growing resistance reached Calivor aboard his mothership. He studied footage of makeshift weapons, drone decoys, and the neural interface tests. Each image deepened his unease. "They learn faster than any species we've encountered," Varek observed quietly. "And they refuse to give up." Calivor clenched his fists. "Then we must strike harder and faster." before they become more than we can handle. But deep down, doubt lingered. These humans were unlike anything he'd ever faced. Their creativity, resilience, and sheer unpredictability made them dangerous opponents. And as the Zintheri prepared for their next move, humanity continued to prove that strength didn't always come from power. It came from ingenuity. Earth was no longer just a target, it was a challenge. And challenges, as the Zintheri were about to discover, often led to unexpected outcomes. The Zintheri wasted no time. Just days after the teenagers' encounter in the forest, their massive fleet descended upon Earth with a deafening roar. Their target? New York City, the beating heart of human innovation and culture. Kelvor had chosen it deliberately, knowing that striking such an iconic location would crush humanity's spirit. What he didn't anticipate was how fiercely the city's inhabitants would fight back. As the alien ships hovered over Manhattan, their ominous shadows blanketing the streets below, panic erupted. Cars screeched to a halt, people screamed, and skyscrapers trembled under the weight of sonic booms. But amidst the chaos, something remarkable happened. Instead of fleeing, many New Yorkers grabbed whatever they could find: baseball bats, kitchen knives, even furniture, and prepared to defend their home. Inside a makeshift command center in Brooklyn, Elena Vega coordinated efforts with local law enforcement and volunteers. Armed with her neural interface headset, she led a team tasked with disabling the Zintheri's ground forces. Her plan was risky but straightforward: infiltrate key areas, hack into the aliens' biotech systems, and turn their own weapons against them. "We can't let them take the city," Elena said firmly, addressing her ragtag group of recruits. "If we lose New York, they'll think we're weak." And we're not. Jake, now fully trained in using the neural interface, nodded eagerly. "Let's show them what humans are made of." The battle began at dawn. The Zintheri deployed squads of hunters onto the streets, their glowing forms cutting through the morning mist. At first, they advanced effortlessly, smashing through barricades and scattering civilians. But as they moved deeper into the city, they encountered unexpected resistance. In Times Square, a group of gamers turned tactical experts used augmented reality apps to create holographic decoys. These illusions lured the Zintheri into narrow alleys where traps awaited. Nets made from steel cables, tripwires rigged to topple dumpsters, and even fireworks launched from rooftops. The aliens roared in frustration as they stumbled into one ambush after another. Meanwhile, subway tunnels became lifelines for both escape and counterattack. Civilians used the underground network to move undetected, ferrying supplies and injured fighters to safety. In one daring maneuver, a team of engineers rerouted power lines to electrify sections of the tracks, electrocuting several Zintheri who ventured too close. Elena and Jake joined the fray near Central Park. Wearing headsets connected to the neural interface, they linked up with drones flying overhead. From their vantage point, they identified clusters of Zintheri soldiers coordinating attacks. With a flick of his wrist, Jake hacked into the nearest alien's weapon system, causing it to malfunction and explode. The blast sent shockwaves through the park, disorienting nearby invaders. But the Zintheri weren't easily deterred. Reinforcements poured in, and the tide of the battle shifted. Buildings crumbled under heavy fire, and smoke filled the air. Elena gritted her teeth as she watched familiar landmarks reduced to rubble. "We need to hit their command hub," she told Jake urgently. "It's controlling their troops. If we disable it, we might stand a chance." Using data gathered from intercepted signals, they pinpointed the location of the command hub, a towering skyscraper commandeered by the Zintheri. Elena led a small team inside, navigating shattered hallways and dodging patrols. When they reached the top floor, they found a pulsating orb of alien tech embedded in the ceiling. It hummed with energy, its light flickering erratically. "This is it," Elena whispered. She activated her neural interface, diving into the alien code. Lines of data streamed across her vision as she worked feverishly to override the system. Sweat dripped down her face, and her hands trembled from the strain. Behind her, Jake kept watch, fending off approaching Zinthuri with hacked drones. Finally, with a triumphant shout, Alina severed the connection. The orb dimmed, then shattered, sending sparks flying. Outside, the Zinthuri froze mid-attack, their coordination disrupted. Without centralized control, their movements became sluggish and uncoordinated. Seizing the opportunity, humanity launched a final push. Guerrilla fighters emerged from every corner, armed with improvised weapons and sheer determination. By nightfall, the Zinthuri retreated, leaving behind smoldering ruins and battered survivors. Though the victory came at a cost, it proved one thing beyond doubt: humanity wasn't going down without a fight. As Alina stood amidst the wreckage, watching the alien ships retreat into the sky, she felt a spark of hope. They had won this round, but the war was far from over. And somewhere aboard the mothership, Calivor stared at Earth, his doubts growing stronger. These humans were unlike anything he'd ever faced. For the first time, he wondered if conquering them was truly worth the price. Minutes felt like hours as they worked, sweat dripping down Alina's face. The hive mind resisted, its defenses triggering alarms throughout the ship. Soon, the sound of approaching footsteps echoed outside the chamber. "They're coming," Jake hissed, taking position near the entrance with his weapon ready. "Almost done," Alina muttered through gritted teeth. Her hands trembled as she made the final adjustments. Just as the doors burst open and Zinthuri warriors poured in, she hit the confirmation command. The orb flared brilliantly, bathing the room in blinding light. For a moment, everything went silent. Then the tendrils of light shifted, their colors softening to a serene blue. The warriors froze, their expressions blank, as the new programming took hold. Alina collapsed to her knees, exhausted but triumphant. "It worked," she breathed. Vurek knelt beside her, his voice heavy with emotion. "You've given my people a chance to change. Thank you." But as the team prepared to escape, Calivor appeared in the doorway, his eyes blazing with fury. "You dare tamper with our essence," he roared, charging toward them. The battle wasn't over yet, and neither was the danger. Calivor's roar echoed through the chamber, reverberating off the pulsating walls of the hive mind core. His massive frame blocked the exit, claws gleaming with menace as he advanced toward the team. Behind him, a group of Zinthuri warriors hesitated, their glowing eyes flickering uncertainly under the influence of the reprogrammed hive mind. The tension in the room was palpable, a fragile balance between chaos and control. Alina scrambled to her feet, clutching the neural interface headset tightly. "We don't have time for this," she muttered under her breath. She glanced at Jake, who nodded grimly, raising his weapon. Vurek stepped forward, positioning himself between Calivor and the humans. "Stop this, Calivor," Vurek said, his voice firm despite the danger. "The hive mind has changed. Our species can no longer thrive on conquest alone." Calivor snarled, his sharp teeth bared. "You traitor, you would betray your own kind for these primitives." "They are not primitive," Vurek countered. "They have shown us something we forgot long ago: hope. If you cannot see that, then you are unworthy of leading our people." For a moment, it seemed as though Calivor might hesitate, but his pride burned brighter than reason. With a deafening roar, he lunged at Vurek, claws slashing through the air. Vurek dodged just in time, but the force of the attack sent him sprawling to the ground. "Cover me," Alina shouted, activating her neural interface once more. While Jake and the others fired makeshift weapons to hold off the advancing warriors, Alina focused all her energy on the hive mind orb. She knew they couldn't destroy it entirely, not without risking catastrophic consequences, but she could amplify its new programming, forcing it to override Calivor's instincts. Lines of alien code flooded her vision again, more chaotic this time. The hive mind resisted her intrusion, fighting back like a living entity. Pain shot through her temples as she pushed harder, sweat dripping down her face. Her hands trembled, and her legs buckled beneath her, but she refused to give up. Jake fired another volley of hacked energy blasts, narrowly missing Calivor, but buying Elena precious seconds. "Hurry," he yelled, panic creeping into his voice. "I'm trotting." Elena snapped, gritting her teeth. Finally, she found what she was looking for, a command buried deep within the hive mind structure. It was a failsafe, designed to suppress rogue individuals who threatened the collective. With a final surge of effort, she activated it. The orb flared again, this time with a blinding white light. Calivor froze mid-attack, his body convulsing as the hive mind forcibly subdued him. He let out an anguished cry before collapsing to the floor, unconscious but alive. The other warriors followed suit, their movements slowing until they stood motionless, their expressions blank. Elena slumped against the wall, gasping for air, her vision blurred, and her head throbbed from the strain of interfacing with the alien system. Jake rushed to her side, helping her stand. "Are you okay?" he asked, concern etched on his face. "I'll live," she replied weakly. "But we need to get out of here. Fast." Vurek approached them, his posture weary but resolute. "The hive mind will stabilize soon, but there will be resistance among my people. Not everyone will accept the change." "We did what we could," Elena said softly. "It's up to them now." As the team made their way back through the ship, they noticed subtle changes in the environment. The walls no longer pulsed aggressively. Instead, they glowed with a calm, steady rhythm. Even the remaining Zinthuri they encountered seemed less hostile, their glowing eyes dimmer and less intense. When they finally reached the captured scout ship, Vurek paused before boarding. "I must stay," he said firmly. "My people will need guidance during this transition. Someone has to help them understand the path you've shown us." Elena looked at him, torn between gratitude and sadness. "Thank you, Vurek, for everything." He inclined his head slightly. "No, thank you, Elena Vega. You have given us a second chance. Do not squander yours." With heavy hearts, Elena and her team boarded the ship and launched into space. As they watched the mothership shrink behind them, they couldn't help but wonder what the future held for humanity, for the Zinthuri, and for the galaxy itself. Back aboard the mothership, Vurek stood alone in the hive mind chamber, staring at the now gentle orb. Change was never easy, but it was necessary. And for the first time in centuries, hope lingered in the air, a fragile yet powerful spark that could ignite a new era for both species. The return journey to Earth was quiet but tense. Elena stared out the viewport of the scout ship, her mind replaying everything that had happened aboard the Zinthuri mothership. They had succeeded in reprogramming the hive mind, but she couldn't shake the feeling that their victory was fragile. Would the Zinthuri truly embrace this new path, or would resistance from within their ranks lead to further conflict? When the team finally landed at a secure military base, they were greeted as heroes. News of their daring mission spread quickly, and soon, Elena found herself standing before world leaders in a high-security meeting room. Screens displayed live feeds from across the globe. Scientists, politicians, and ordinary citizens watched eagerly as she recounted their infiltration of the Zinthuri fleet. "We didn't just defeat them," Elena explained, her voice steady despite her exhaustion. "We gave them a choice, a chance to change. But whether they accept it is up to them." Her words sparked heated debate among the assembled leaders. Some argued for immediate retaliation, fearing the Zinthuri might regroup and strike again. Others advocated caution, suggesting humanity should wait and see how the aliens responded to the hive mind's reprogramming. Meanwhile, back aboard the Zinthuri mothership, chaos simmered beneath the surface. While many warriors accepted the changes imposed by the hive mind, others resisted fiercely. Calivor, though subdued, remained a symbol of defiance for those unwilling to abandon their old ways. His unconscious form was placed under heavy guard, but whispers of rebellion spread like wildfire through the ranks. Vurek worked tirelessly to maintain order, addressing gatherings of his people and explaining the necessity of peace. He spoke of the resilience and ingenuity he had witnessed in humanity, urging his fellow Zinthuri to learn from these traits rather than destroy them. For every skeptic who challenged him, there were others who listened and began to question the violent legacy of their species. On Earth, humanity began to rebuild. Cities devastated by earlier attacks slowly came back to life, fueled by a renewed sense of unity. Volunteers from around the world joined efforts to repair damaged infrastructure, while scientists collaborated on technologies inspired by the neural interface. Social media buzzed with stories of hope and survival, reminding everyone of what they had overcome together. Alina became a global ambassador for peace, traveling to communities still recovering from the invasion. She shared tales of Virek's courage and urged people not to fear the unknown. "Fear only divides us," she told crowds gathered in makeshift arenas. "But understanding, that's where strength lies." Jake accompanied her on many of these trips, his youthful energy inspiring others to believe in a brighter future. Together, they demonstrated how the neural interface could be used not just as a weapon, but as a tool for connection and innovation. As weeks turned into months, signs of progress emerged from the Scifi fleet. Ships that once hovered menacingly above Earth now drifted peacefully in orbit, their weapons powered down. Small delegations of Scifi arrived on Earth, seeking dialogue rather than domination. These encounters were tense at first, but over time, trust began to form. One evening, Alina received a message from Virek. It was brief but meaningful. "Your faith in us has sparked change. Thank you." Tears welled in her eyes as she read the words. Humanity's gamble had paid off, not through force, but through compassion and belief in the possibility of redemption. Still, challenges remained. Not all Scifi embraced the new path, and pockets of resistance continued to threaten stability. On Earth, debates raged about how best to integrate alien technology into human society without losing their identity. Yet amidst the uncertainty, one truth stood clear. Humanity had proven itself capable of facing even the deadliest threats with courage and creativity. And though the road ahead would be long, they walked it together, not just as humans, but alongside former enemies who had chosen to become allies. For the first time in history, Earth wasn't just a planet. It was a beacon of hope in the galaxy. A reminder that even the most unlikely bonds could forge a better tomorrow. Years passed, and the galaxy began to change in ways no one could have predicted. The Scifi, once feared as ruthless conquerors, were now seen as a species in transition. Under Virek's leadership, they dismantled their empire piece by piece, freeing enslaved civilizations and offering reparations where possible. Many former enemies forgave them, not out of obligation, but because they recognized the sincerity of the Scifi's transformation. On Earth, humanity flourished. The scars of war remained, but they served as reminders of resilience rather than defeat. Cities rebuilt themselves with a blend of human ingenuity and repurposed alien technology. Skyscrapers shimmered with adaptive bioluminescent panels inspired by Scifi designs, while neural interfaces became tools for education, medicine, and communication. Humanity had taken its first steps toward becoming an interstellar civilization. Alina Vega stood at the forefront of this new era. No longer just a scientist or soldier, she was now a diplomat, a bridge between Earth and the stars. Her work with the Scifi earned her global acclaim, but more importantly, it forged connections that transcended borders and species. She often thought back to those early days when fear and mistrust clouded every decision. Now, she saw hope blossoming across the galaxy. One day, Alina found herself aboard a sleek spacecraft bound for Proxima Centauri, humanity's first official mission beyond the solar system. Beside her sat Jake, now grown into a confident young man who had dedicated his life to exploring the unknown. Together, they represented Earth's ambition, a bold step forward into the cosmos. As the ship broke free of Earth's atmosphere, Alina gazed out the viewport at the blue-green orb shrinking behind them. "It's strange," she said softly. "For so long, we thought survival meant fighting. But maybe growth is about reaching out, even to those who seem different." Jake nodded, his eyes wide with wonder. "And look how far we've come. Who knows what's waiting out there? Their destination was a distant star system rumored to harbor intelligent life. Over the years, intercepted signals and mysterious anomalies hinted at another advanced civilization, one that might hold answers to questions humanity had only begun to ask. The journey would take months, but neither Elena nor Jake felt impatient. Every second brought them closer to something extraordinary. Meanwhile, on the Scifi mothership, Varek watched Earth fade into the distance. Though he stayed behind, he took pride in knowing his people had played a role in humanity's ascension. Their alliance wasn't perfect. There were still moments of tension and misunderstanding. But it was proof that cooperation could overcome even the deepest divides. Back on Earth, monuments were erected to honor the heroes of the war. Mia and her friends, whose bravery sparked humanity's resistance. Elena, whose intellect and determination saved billions. And even Varek, whose courage inspired a species to change. These stories became legends, told to future generations as reminders of what unity and creativity could achieve. But perhaps the greatest legacy of all was the Interstellar Coalition, a coalition of planets and species working together to ensure peace and prosperity throughout the galaxy. Humanity, once considered primitive, now stood among equals, contributing ideas and innovations that reshaped entire worlds. As Elena's ship ventured deeper into space, she reflected on the lessons learned during those tumultuous years. Strength wasn't measured by power or dominance. It was found in compassion, adaptability, and the willingness to believe in a better future. And though the road ahead was uncertain, she knew one thing for sure. Humanity belonged among the stars, not as conquerors, but as explorers, builders, and dreamers. They carried with them not weapons, but hope, a gift they had shared with the Scifi, and one they intended to share with the rest of the galaxy. Far away, under alien suns and amidst unfamiliar constellations, new adventures awaited. The deadliest species in the galaxy had met its match, and through that encounter, both humans and Scifi had discovered their true potential. The galaxy was vast, full of mysteries yet unsolved. But for the first time, humanity faced it not with fear, but with open arms. And that made all the difference. Aboard the Scifi mothership, Kelvor paced furiously across the command deck. The failure in New York gnawed at him like a wound that refused to heal. Never before had his species faced such resistance. Other civilizations they had conquered fell quickly. Some surrendered without a fight. Others crumbled under brute force. But humanity, they fought back with everything they had. And worse, they adapted faster than any enemy he'd ever encountered. What went wrong? Kelvor growled, turning to Varek, who stood silently by the observation window. His second-in-command hesitated, knowing better than to speak out of turn. But when Kelvor's piercing gaze locked onto him, Varek knew there was no avoiding the question. "They are different," Varek said carefully, choosing his words with precision. "Their tactics are unpredictable. They use their environment against us, repurpose tools, and work together as if connected by instinct." Kelvor snarled, slamming a clawed fist against the console. "Different does not mean invincible. We are the apex predators of the galaxy. No species should be able to stand against us." But deep down, doubt lingered. He replayed footage of the battle in New York over and over again. Humans armed with nothing more than kitchen utensils and scavenged materials had taken down elite Scifi warriors. Teenagers had hacked into advanced biotech systems using crude devices cobbled together overnight. Even now, reports streamed in about Earth's continued defiance. Communities organizing themselves, sharing strategies online, and preparing for another attack. "This cannot happen again," Kelvor muttered, more to himself than to anyone else. "We need to understand them, to anticipate their moves before they make them." He ordered his scientists to analyze every scrap of data collected during the invasion attempts. Genetic samples, intercepted communications, even recordings of human behavior were dissected and studied. What they discovered shocked them. Unlike most species, humans didn't rely solely on physical strength or hierarchical structures. Their power came from creativity, adaptability, and an unrelenting drive to survive. They value cooperation, one scientist reported during a briefing. Even individuals who do not know each other will band together in times of crisis. It is unnatural and dangerous, Calivore added grimly. If we cannot break their unity, we will never conquer them. Varek listened quietly, his thoughts swirling. While Calivore obsessed over finding weaknesses, Varek couldn't help but admire humanity's resilience. In all his years serving the Scifi Empire, he had never seen anything like it. There was something almost beautiful about how these fragile creatures refused to bow, even when faced with extinction. Back on Earth, humanity was far from resting. News of the victory in New York spread like wildfire, inspiring countless others to prepare for the next wave of attacks. Governments pooled resources to mass-produce Alina's neural interface, while grassroots movements trained civilians in guerrilla warfare techniques. Social media buzzed with ideas, from building underground bunkers to creating decoy cities designed to lure the Scifi into traps. Alina herself became a symbol of hope. Her face appeared on news broadcasts around the world, her calm determination resonating with people of all ages. She traveled tirelessly, teaching volunteers how to use the neural interface and coordinating global defense efforts. Despite her exhaustion, she pushed forward, driven by the belief that humanity could win this fight, if only they stayed united. But not everyone agreed on strategy. Some military leaders argued for launching preemptive strikes against the Scifi fleet, hoping to catch them off guard. Others advocated for diplomacy, suggesting that communication might offer a way to avoid further bloodshed. Tensions rose as factions debated the best course of action. Meanwhile, aboard the mothership, Calivore made a decision. Enough studying. He would strike again, harder and faster this time. But first, he needed to neutralize humanity's greatest weapon, their ability to adapt. Using insights gathered from his scientists, he devised a plan to target Earth's communication networks, severing the connections that allowed humans to share information so effectively. As both sides prepared for what promised to be an even deadlier confrontation, neither realized how much the stakes had changed. Humanity had proven itself capable of standing toe-to-toe with the deadliest species in the galaxy, and the Scifi, for all their power and arrogance, were beginning to question whether conquest was still their destiny, or if survival might require a new approach altogether. The galaxy held its breath, waiting to see which side would emerge victorious. The Scifi's next attack came without warning. This time, their target was a remote research facility in the Arctic, a place few humans even knew existed. The facility housed some of Earth's most advanced technology, including prototypes of Alina's neural interface and experimental weapons designed specifically to counter alien biotech. To humanity's dismay, the Scifi had somehow pinpointed its location. Alina and her team arrived just as the invaders breached the perimeter. The air was frigid and snow swirled violently around them, but the chaos inside the facility was far worse. Alien hunters moved with terrifying efficiency, smashing through walls and capturing scientists one by one. It seemed hopeless until something unexpected happened. A lone Scifi warrior broke away from the group. Instead of attacking, he approached Alina cautiously, his glowing eyes dimmed to a soft amber. Before anyone could react, he spoke, not in guttural growls, but in broken yet intelligible English. "Do not shoot," the alien said, raising his clawed hands in surrender. "I am not your enemy." Alina froze, her heart pounding. She glanced at Jake, who stood beside her with a weapon aimed at the creature. "What do you want?" she demanded, her voice steady despite her fear. "My name is Varek," the alien replied. "I have watched your species closely. You are unlike any we have encountered. Your creativity, your unity, it is admirable." Jake tightened his grip on the weapon. "Why should we trust you? You're one of them." Varek lowered his head, a gesture that seemed almost human. Because I no longer believe in conquest. The Zintheri Empire is crumbling under Calvor's leadership. We expand endlessly, consuming resources and enslaving others, but it is unsustainable. There must be another way. Alina hesitated. This could be a trap, or it could be their chance to turn the tide of the war. Prove it, she said finally. Help us stop your people, and maybe we'll consider sparing yours. Varek nodded solemnly. I will give you everything I know. But time is short. Calvor plans to launch a final assault, one that will destroy your communication networks and scatter your defenses. Without coordination, you cannot win. With Varek's help, Alina and her team escaped the facility before it was overrun. Back at a secure bunker, they began debriefing him. What Varek revealed shocked everyone. The Zintheri's strength lay not in individual warriors, but in their hive mind, a central network that connected every member of their species, allowing for instantaneous communication and coordination. Disrupting this system would cripple their ability to function as a cohesive unit. But how do we reach the hive mind? Alina asked, studying schematics of the Zintheri mothership projected onto a screen. It's protected by layers of security. I can guide you, Varek offered. But entering the mothership is suicide. Only a small team could go undetected, and even then, success is not guaranteed. Alina exchanged a glance with Jake. Both knew what had to be done. We'll do it, she said firmly. If this works, it could end the war. Preparations began immediately. Using stolen Zintheri tech, Alina modified the neural interface to mimic the aliens' biometric signatures, allowing the infiltration team to disguise themselves. Varek provided detailed maps of the mothership and taught them basic phrases in the Zintheri language to avoid suspicion. As they worked, mistrust lingered among some members of the team. Many struggled to accept an alien ally, especially one who had once been their enemy. You're risking everything on this guy, a soldier named Marcus argued during a briefing. What if he's lying? What if this is all a trick? He's our best shot, Alina countered. And honestly, we don't have many other options. Finally, the day of the mission arrived. Dressed in stolen Zintheri armor, Alina, Jake, and 2 other volunteers boarded a captured scout ship alongside Varek. Their destination, the heart of the Zintheri fleet. Tension filled the cramped vessel as they approached the massive mothership looming ahead like a mechanical leviathan. As they docked, Alina took a deep breath. Remember why we're doing this, she whispered to her team. For Earth. For everyone. Varek placed a clawed hand on her shoulder. Trust me, he said softly. I may be Zintheri, but I want peace as much as you do. With that, they stepped into the belly of the beast, knowing full well that failure meant certain death, and success might change the fate of 2 species forever. The corridors of the Zintheri mothership were dimly lit, pulsating with an eerie bioluminescent glow that reflected off the sleek, organic walls. The air smelled faintly of ozone and something metallic, making Alina's skin crawl. Disguised in stolen armor and armed with modified neural interfaces, she and her team moved cautiously, their footsteps muffled by the soft, fleshy texture of the floor beneath them. Varek led the way, his movements deliberate but unhurried. He had memorized every twist and turn of the labyrinthine ship, guiding the humans toward their ultimate goal, the hive mind core. Along the way, they encountered other Zintheri warriors, but none gave them more than a passing glance. The stolen armor and Varek's calm demeanor seemed to fool even the most vigilant guards. This place is like a living organism, Jake whispered, his voice barely audible over the hum of machinery. It's creepy. It is alive, Varek replied quietly. The entire ship is grown from bioengineered material. It repairs itself and adapts to threats. Alina shuddered at the thought but pushed forward, her focus razor-sharp. She couldn't afford distractions, not when so much was at stake. As they neared the central chamber housing the hive mind, the atmosphere grew heavier. The walls pulsed faster, as if sensing their approach. Suddenly, Virek held up a clawed hand, signaling for the group to stop. Ahead, two Zinthuri guards stood flanking a massive doorway etched with glowing runes. "We'll need a distraction," Virek murmured. "I can disable one guard, but you must handle the other." Elena nodded, her heart pounding. Using the neural interface, she tapped into the ship's internal systems, triggering a minor malfunction in a nearby power conduit. Sparks flew, drawing the attention of both guards. As one moved to investigate, Virek struck with lightning speed, incapacitating him silently. Meanwhile, Jake used the neural interface to hack into the second guard's weapon, causing it to overload and explode harmlessly before the alien could react. With the path clear, the team slipped through the doorway into the hive mind chamber. What they saw took their breath away. The room was dominated by a colossal, pulsating orb suspended in midair. Its surface shimmered with shifting colors, radiating waves of energy that made the air vibrate. Tendrils of light extended from the orb, connecting it to countless smaller nodes embedded in the walls. This was the source of the Zinthuri's unity, their collective consciousness. "It's beautiful," Elena whispered, awestruck despite herself. But then her gaze hardened, "and we have to destroy it." Virek stepped forward, his expression conflicted. "Wait." He turned to face the team, his glowing eyes filled with unease. "Destroying the hive mind will sever the connection between all Zinthuri. Without it, they will lose their ability to coordinate, but it may also drive them into madness or extinction." Elena frowned. "We don't have a choice. If we leave it intact, they'll keep attacking us. Earth doesn't stand a chance otherwise." "There might be another way," Virek said hesitantly. "The hive mind isn't inherently evil. It's programmed to prioritize conquest. If we reprogram it to value cooperation instead." Jake shook his head. "You're talking about rewriting their entire culture. That's insane." "It's risky," Elena admitted, her mind racing. "But if it works, it could end this war without further bloodshed. And maybe, just maybe, it could give your people a future worth fighting for." After a tense silence, the team agreed to try. Working together, Elena and Virek accessed the hive mind's programming using the neural interface. Streams of alien code flooded Elena's vision, overwhelming at first, but gradually becoming decipherable. With Virek's guidance, she began altering key directives, replacing commands for domination with ones promoting peace and collaboration.